So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this presentation. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank the person that invited you. If it wasn't myself, Brother Tamani. This is part five of a five-part series that we did a few months ago. I'm actually just catching up. This was actually in November of last year, 2025, and it is January 2026. But that's how it is sometimes. So the title of this last part in the series is Building Within Project 2025. Preparing our youth to lead from a position of power. As you have heard me say, if you've watched the other presentations, I've said repeatedly that Project 2025, most people did not believe was real. A lot of people thought it was a joke. They could not do this. It was a Democrat scare tactic, blah, 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 blah. Everybody was wrong. Not only were they serious, not only was it real, but they are creating serious changes in this country that is going to affect the current and future forward progress of Black people in very severe ways. This presentation series is an effort to get the attention of our people to have us start doing something collectively that's going to ensure that what they are planning doesn't affect us in a long-term negative way that changes our trajectory in this country. So, the Black Rally in 2025, I want to show this brief clip because I agree with Professor James Small and Brother Charles Barron on their assessment of where we are in this country. This is the current Black reality in 2025 moving forward as we see it right now. And this is why it is so critical that we do what we need to do to build power locally first in the spaces where we live.
We got to understand colonialism. We live in Black communities in America are domestic colonies of a colonial capitalist system. And here's where they get you. They get you focusing on racism. And we have to, but racism is the ideology of capitalism. It is not the system. The system is capitalism, and then you have a socialist system, and communism is the utopian system that doesn't exist. You have communist parties and countries, but you don't have a communist government. So when we look at every Black community, what is a domestic colony? A colony is when a foreign nation takes over a sovereign state and brings in its military and extracts from its natural resources from that land and the labor, slave labor. That's what colonialism is. So domestic colonialism means that we in Black communities across this country, we don't have anything like Tulsa or Rosewood in the 21st century. There's no Black community where we're in control of the land, the resources, the means of production, all of the social cultural institutions like they had in Rosewood in the 1920s. So now we have none of that. We are over $1 trillion consumer market, and yet we have no community in the country that looks anything like Rosewood or Tulsa of the 1920s. And here we are in 2023. So
let me put a slick definition on it, Charles, Brother Barron. You know, somebody asked Malcolm X, said, Brother Minister Malcolm X, what do you mean by Black nationalism? And to just capitalize what you said, he said, you must control the land, labor, and resources, the economic, politics, and culture where you live. We control none of that where we live. And that just capsulizes it. And, right. and when we think of it, here we are expected to spend $2 trillion this year in consumer dollars. Uh-huh. We control no land. We control no labor. We control no resources. We do not control the economics, the politics, or the culture where we live. All right? And then we, by definition, we can't even call where we live communities, because communities presuppose that you control those things.
Absolutely. So that is the reality in 2025, moving forward in 2026. Right now, as we currently exist, I think you would be hard pressed to find someone who would disagree with that reality. We are most certainly not in a good spot, and we are up against it with Project 2025 and this administration. which is why this presentation series is so important. The colony is only going to get worse, and it's going to get worse because they have designed it to get worse. They are maneuvering in a fashion to make it worse. They have, as they said in Project 2025 last year, they want to dismantle the economy. That is what they're doing. As they said last year in Project 2025 in their book that they put out, the 900 plus page book, they said they were going to dismantle the social safety net, and that is exactly what they're doing. They have focused on dismantling the education, quote unquote, the indoctrination system. They are dismantling federal protections, which would be both consumer protections and citizen protections, which is your health, the environment, and things on that level that protects us individually as persons in this country, so that we cannot be exploited. They want to move backward to go back and focus on states' rights as opposed to having the federal government have oversight. That is a problem for us because the whole reason federal protections were so important were because the state's leadership was racist. So we had to have the federal government come in and say that you can't do this if you want to receive federal dollars and or not be shut down. They want to move back to a states' rights system whereby the federal government does not have oversight. And again, historically speaking, that has not been good for us. They want to continue to make as much money as they can off of the exploitation of poor people to make rich people richer. All of this Project 2025 stuff is an effort to make those with money more money at the expense of those who don't have money. So all of the cuts that are about to go into effect this month is over, I think it's 13 plus billion dollars of cuts they have made in all of these areas, plus a few more. And the money that they're going to save from these cuts are going to go toward tax cuts for the rich, which of course they don't need the money, but it's not about what they need, it's about giving them more. And it's only been 11 or 12 months since Trump took office, and maybe a full year as of today. Yeah, so it's only been a year, and he still has 3 years left. Not good for us at all. What they're trying to do is create chaos. They want to create a chaotic situation so that you will be focused on the chaos while they continue to do what they're trying to do to build power for themselves. But as General Sun Tzu said, quote, in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity, end quote. But that opportunity is only there if you are ready, willing, and able to take advantage of it. If you're not, you probably won't even recognize it as an opportunity. And even if you do, if you're not ready, that opportunity will most certainly pass you by. So we absolutely must create community trust with our people, and we need to do that with the adults so that we can create something to pass on to our youth. This 5-part series has focused on 5 critically important areas that we need to move ourselves forward. These are not the only areas, of course, but these are the 5 that we're focused on right now in 2026. So we can build upon these foundations in 2027 moving forward. As it relates to food and agriculture, we want to have micro farms, we want to have local food hubs, and we want to have community-owned restaurants. As it relates to security, we want to have personal security, family security, street security, and neighborhood overwatch security. As it relates to economics and finance, we want to partner with every business in the predominantly Black space and have them give something back so that we can invest in ourselves and move forward. We want to make sure that investing in ourselves so we can move forward is the number one priority, because if we don't invest in ourselves, no one else will, and it will be checkmate for us. We want to create our own credit unions and business investment opportunities, and we want to partner with TSU as much as possible, and then expand out to partner with other HBCUs so that we're moving ourselves in the community forward in an economic and financial fashion. We want to create a political power that we control in our own spaces. We need grassroots leadership from the ground up. We need grassroots candidates from the ground up. And from the ground up, I mean people who are already doing the work in the community. We don't need to be focusing on people who come into the community from the outside, no matter what they look like, telling us what they're going to do. We need to focus on those who are already doing the work, equip them, prepare them, and train them to run for office so that we will know, because they've already proven that they're going to do the work, we'll know that in that position, in that seat, they're going to do right by the people. We need to do this so that we can have as many people as possible on city council, And we're focused on the three predominantly black districts right now in Houston, Texas, which is where we're headquartered, which is districts D, B, and I. And as it relates to our youth, which is what this presentation is about, we are launching our Saturday school in 2 weeks. We want to train the youth in these critical areas so that as we, the adults, are doing our part in these areas, we can pass the baton on to them to take over these areas. We want to, of course, train them politically so that we will have a pipeline of upcoming candidates to take our place as they get older. We want to partner them with Black-owned businesses so that they can understand what business is all about. By spending time with that business owner, understand that industry, understand the ins and outs of business, and then put them in a position to run their own business, if not run the businesses in the community. And of course, we want to train them in AI and mobile app development moving forward. So there are a number of things that we need to do, but these are the core 5 areas that we're focusing on via this building within the matrix for Project 2025 moving forward. So the progressive buildup, 2026 is the critical year for us, and we want to methodically, intentionally, intelligently move forward to do what we need to do to put our youth in a position to win. Over the next 4 months, January to April, we want to develop our local youth SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis, and I'll get to this later, is an acronym. SWOT is an acronym that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Where are our youth strong? Where are our youth weak? What are the opportunities that our youth are facing, and what are the threats to our youth? We want to develop a local youth development and Saturday school program. As I said, that launches in 2 weeks, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, which I think is the 24th, if I'm not mistaken. We want to train our youth in the 6 pillars of empowerment. That is spirituality. I apologize, that should be spirituality, not spiritual. Spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, which is the benefits, services that a municipality provides to the people, and politics. And of course, we want to have a agreement with the youth that as you invest in and as you are a part of what we do, we're going to make sure that you are benefiting from what you help us build. So as we grow, as we thrive, as we profit, so too will our youth, because they will be a part of it and helping us make this thing a reality. Our midterm goals, the 5th through the 11th months of this year, 2026, we want to have individual and group development training for our youth. We want to have training in those 5 critical areas: food and ag, security, economics, and politics. Of course, the youth piece is the 5th piece, but this is about that. So the youth won't be involved because they already be in that training. And the 6 pillars of empowerment, add twos and enhancement. So as we focus on the 4 critical areas, the other areas of the 6 pillars will be added to for our youth moving forward. And then our long-term goals, 12 plus months moving forward, youth development and training outreach activities, programs, outreach programs developed by the youth, ran by the youth to go get more youth. Youth leadership identification and recruitment, youth leadership training in the 4 critical areas that we're focusing on per this event series: food and ag, security, economics, and politics. And then, of course, continue to develop and train our youth in the 6 pillars of empowerment, because if we don't have those 6 pillars of empowerment properly enacted, spirituality, right culture, education, economics, socioeconomics, and politics, we are simply not going to win. So those 6 pillars of empowerment are critically important, not only for our youth, but also for our adults. So the steps that we need to take to get there, the first one is producing the SWOT analysis. And the SWOT analysis, again, is an acronym that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we want to understand, where are we strong? We want to identify the expertise, the youth expertise we already have in the community. We want to identify what youth are willing to teach and train other youth via that expertise. And we want to know who's open to be trained, who wants to be a part of something that truly matters, so that we can make you, young person, better, in hopes to make our communities and neighborhoods better, in hopes that we can make our people better. What are the weaknesses that we have? And one of the weaknesses that we have is that we're not mobilized. We're not together. We don't have a critical number of young people that are focused on nation building within this matrix. because we're not mobilized, we're most certainly not organized to prepare our youth to move forward and build power for themselves and their people. And we don't have infrastructure. We don't have our own institutions by which we can go and be trained and learn and understand. We have to go to other people's institutions, which of course is a part of the problem. The opportunities that exist, what opportunities do currently exist for our youth? One of the opportunities via this program, the Building Within the Matrix program, is that we have an opportunity to mobilize our youth, to organize our youth so that we can train our youth. We will have an opportunity to prepare our youth to lead from a position of power, and I venture to say that no one else is doing that from an African-centered, taking over a city standpoint as relates to the typical standpoint of going out and getting a job and then leading from a European mindset and a European strategy, which is never going to work for us. And of course, we have the opportunity to empower our youth via the 6 pillars of empowerment in these 4 critically important areas as we continue to expand out and move forward. What are the threats to our youth? The threats is that a lot of our youth, for whatever reason, are apathetic. They're lazy. They don't want to learn. They don't want to do. They don't want to engage. That's a problem that we have to deal with. That is a threat to the forward progress of our youth, to the development of our youth, which of course would be a threat to the development forward progress of our people. A lot of our youth are disconnected from the reality of what it means to be Black in America, what it means to be a young person in America, a young person of melanin with melanin in America. There's a disconnect, and that disconnect exists because the empowered village that we need to move our people forward, to move our youth forward, we have it in spurts, but we don't have it in the capacity that we need to have it. So if the adults are disconnected, then the children are going to be disconnected. And the last threat as it relates to these examples are our youth, like our adults, are distracted with everything except those things that matter, which is putting themselves in a position to lead from a position of power via their agenda as opposed to someone else's. So these are examples of what a SWOT analysis would look like. And all of these things will be on the SWOT analysis as we continue to build moving forward to put our youth in a position to lead, guide, be trained, and of course, have them be a part of what we're trying to build with what they see, what they understand, and what they would like to do. How are we going to implement the SWOT analysis? We're going to take this thing on a very, very, very basic, probably the most basic level I can think of moving forward. We want to go from streets to precincts to zip codes to districts to not only understand and develop where our youth are, but to bring more youth into this thing. So we want to start on the street level, training youth level street professionals to understand everything that's going on that street. Where are our youth strong on this street? Where are our youth weak on this street? What are the opportunities for our youth on this street? And what are the threats to our youth on this street? Then we want to graduate as our youth get involved in the program and they become street professionals. Once they have the street locked down, we want to graduate them to being precinct lieutenants. And BG is the parent element of everything that we do. BG is Black Gold Nation. Well, Black Gold Nation is the parent organization. So I'm just saying Black Gold street professionals, Black Gold precinct lieutenants. So as our young people lock down what's happening on the street, they mature. They are promoted to become a precinct lieutenant, which means we want them to know everything possible to know about the youth in the precinct. Where are our youth strong, weak? What are the opportunities and what are the threats in that precinct per our youth? We then want to graduate to the zip code, youth zip code captains. Where are we strong? Where are we weak? What are the opportunities and threats? And then we finally get to the largest voting space in every state in this country, except for Louisiana. The largest voting space, the voting block, is districts. Louisiana has parishes, but we want to have youth Black Gold ambassadors that understand the SWOT analysis as relates to that voting space. As we do this as adults, we also want our youth to do this preferably with us, so they will not only understand the power of being mobilized and organized, but they will also be trained in how this thing works from a political standpoint as we build power for ourselves where we are a majority. We want to mobilize and organize our youth and our people to implement power locally and then run those spaces like small countries. If we can properly mobilize and organize our adults, have our youth be a part of running a district, a space like District D here in Houston is larger than over 100 municipalities in this country. So if we can run a district the size of District D, then we can branch out and have our people run municipalities first locally here in the greater Houston, but then we branch out and start running municipalities in the state of Texas, and then we go further to do it nationwide. There are over 1,700 predominantly black municipalities, village, town, small city, or mid-sized city in this country. With the right leadership, we can most certainly have a nation within this nation, but of course we cannot do that if we don't have the right people, the right adults involved to train the right youth. Everybody won't be involved. Everybody's not ready, but that's okay because we don't want everybody. We don't need everybody. We simply need a critical mass that's ready to do what needs to be done so we can organize ourselves moving forward. From that organization, we invest in ourselves, we build for ourselves, and then any profits that come out of that investment in that building, be they economic, be they spiritual, be they financial, be they physical, be they technological, be they economic, be they educational, any profits that come out of this investment in this building, we reinvest in ourselves, in our people, in our youth, in our communities, so that we can continue to build power. All of this is about power. Everything that's happened to us has happened because we have not had the power to stop it. If we do not get power, then we'll always be maneuvering per someone else's agenda. We need to maneuver per our own agenda. And to do that, you have to have a power-taking mindset because that is what this is about, power.
I think black people and black Christian nationalism says we have to approach the whole problem in terms of power. Black people have to begin to build institutions. Every institution that exists belongs to white people, was built by white people, and serves the interests of white people. And for black organizational leaders to be sitting there talking as though they have power, as though they represent something. We want to represent everybody, we want to bring everybody together, we want to build a beautiful America. We don't want to build no kind of beautiful America. We want power for black people, and we want to fight for it. It's demand confrontation and the willingness to do anything necessary to get power. And we got to take it away from white people. White people are not going to give black people anything. Politically, economically, or any other way, black man is no longer necessary in America. And the white man is hell-bent on genocide. So we have to understand we've got to build institutional power to deal with the white man who is deciding to destroy.
That was Reverend Albert B. Clegg, African title and name, Jaramogi Bebe Ajiman, the founder of the Shrines of the Black Madonna. That video was made in 1973, still very relevant today in 2026. You can easily couple that with what Dr. James Small and Brother Charles Barron said initially with our people existing in domestic colonies, because nothing has changed as it relates to where we are in this country and the enemies and enemy system that we're dealing with. And nothing has changed because we haven't properly mobilized and organized, because we have not fully understood those 6 pillars and we have not implemented them. What we're saying via the Black Gold Nation and the Growth for Care Alliance is that we absolutely must understand those pillars, start to educate and train our people around those pillars, implement solutions to make those pillars a reality in our lives so that we can move forward. If there was ever a time for our people to get involved and get busy and do, the time is now. Project 2025 is real. They were not playing games. They were not joking. They were not pretending. It is here. It is happening. It is rolling out, and they are ahead of schedule. The question is, what are we going to do to ensure that we're not thrown back into some level, some degree, some form of slavery, which is very possible because, again, everything that's happened to us has happened because we have not had the power to stop it, and we still don't have any power. So thank you very much for being here. If I, Brother Tamani, was the one that invited you, let me know when you're done watching it. Then we can go from there. And if someone else invited you, get with them, let them know you're done, let them know what you thought, and hopefully, prayerfully, you'll be willing to join us moving forward as we build a nation within this nation, build our own Zion within this matrix. Because again, if we don't do that, it is checkmate for our people. We're going to end up being a permanent underclass in a country that was built on the backs of our people. America was built by us. It was not built for us. Thank you very much. God bless, and I hope to see you guys soon. See you, meet you, get your feedback from the videos, from the series, so that we can build collectively and move forward from there. Thank you very much. God bless, and I hope to hear and meet and see you soon. Bye-bye.